Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today, well, it's to unpack a whole load of research on a global fitness phenomenon. We want to give you the key insights, without you having to wade through everything.
Yeah, and today we're diving deep into Joseph Pilates, the method he called Contrology. It's quite a story. Not always the calm, serene picture you might have.
Right, it's this idea of complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. But the man behind it, he could be anything but tranquil. We're talking about unexpected roots in German physical culture.
World War I internment camps.
And some real high-stakes drama in his New York studio. Conflicts, rivalries. It gets pretty intense.
Absolutely. He was an inventor, sure, but also an ex-boxer, a physical culturist, a real visionary who genuinely thought his method could save the world.
He really believed it, didn't he? That fervor comes through. And we've got stories that show that dedication, including one pretty notorious confrontation with a rival that sounds almost unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, it's legendary in Pilates circles. Almost sounds like something out of a movie.
Okay, let's unpack this man. Joseph Pilates, born in Germany, 1883. And his early life, it wasn't just one thing, was it? It was this mix of intense athletic pursuits.
Totally diverse. I mean, before World War I even started, he wasn't just dabbling. He was a professional boxer. He was a circus tumbler, an acrobat. You mentioned the living Greek statue thing he did.
Right, which sounds kind of theatrical, but it points to this deep understanding of physique and movement he had early on.
Exactly, and that background is so crucial for understanding where Contrology actually came from. It wasn't just conjured out of thin air. It was really synthesized from this huge physical culture movement that was, sweeping across Europe in the 19th century.
Ah, okay, so things like German gymnastics, that Turnverein system.
Precisely.
Yeah.
John's Turnverein, and also Swedish gymnastics, like the Ling system. Those are the foundations. If you look closely at the Contrology mat exercises.
You see the echoes.
Oh, absolutely. Especially the rolling and tumbling moves. They bear, staggering similarities to drills you find in old German exercise manuals from the 1800s. It's undeniable.
So his genius wasn't necessarily inventing every single move from scratch.
No, not really. It was more about the selection and the synthesis, taking these bits and pieces from different 19th century techniques and weaving them in to this very specific, codified, flowing sequence. That was the real innovation, organizing it all.
But then things take a sharp turn, right? World War I breaks out. He's in England.
Yeah, bad timing. He gets interned as an enemy alien, ends up at Knockaloe camp on the Isle of Man. And he's stuck there for 4 years, roughly 1915 to 1919.
4 years. That must have been, well, obviously difficult, but also formative.
Incredibly formative, that forced isolation, that time to just think and work. It was invaluable, professionally speaking. Suddenly he's surrounded by hundreds of men, many injured, many just, physically deteriorating from the confinement and lack of activity.
And this is where the famous cat story comes in, isn't it?
Yes, the classic origin story. Food was scarce in the camp, the German U-boat blockade was hitting England hard, even the animals were suffering. But Joe, he watches these camp cats.
Starving cats, right?
Exactly, skin and bones, apparently. But what struck him was that they were still so lithe and springy, always stretching, always lengthening. He just started analyzing how they move.
And translating that into exercises for humans.
Yeah, translating their sort of natural fluid motions into what he called an orderly series of exercises for the other prisoners. It's such a powerful image, isn't it? Finding vitality in observing creatures dealing with deprivation.
It really is. And the story goes that it actually worked. I mean, there's that claim about the influenza epidemic.
Right. The records, or at least the story passed down, suggests that when the big flu epidemic swept through the camp later, not a single one of the prisoners who were doing his exercises got sick. Now, whether that's perfectly accurate or slightly embellished over time, who knows? But it became a powerful testimonial for the method right from the start.
Even in that environment, though, his competitive side didn't disappear.
Oh, not at all. He was in his mid-30s, still very much into sport. We know from camp newspapers, actually, that he refereed a 10-round boxing match there in 1917. Yep. And apparently, he disqualified one of the boxers specifically for not following his instructions as the referee. So, even then, always needed to be in control.
Okay, fast forward. The war's over. He eventually makes his way to America. 1926, New York City. He and Clara, his partner, opened the Pilates Universal Gymnasium, 939 8th Avenue, Manhattan.
And that location, just Wow, pure gold.
Yeah.
They took over a space that had actually been a boxing gym.
Oh, fitting.
Yeah, kind of full circle, right? They converted it for their apparatus. But the real magic of 939 8th Avenue was the building itself. The Van Dyke Studios building. It was this legendary hub for artists, dancers, musicians.
And crucially, the New York City Ballet was right there in the same building.
Bingo. That connection basically sealed his fate in the city. He became the guy for the dance world almost immediately.
We're talking big names, right? People who shaped American dance.
Absolutely the biggest. George Balanchine was sending his young dancers there all the time. Martha Graham was a client. Jerome Robbins. And Hanya Holm, another huge figure, a German modern dance pioneer.
So they saw the value right away.
Right.
It wasn't just like general fitness for them.
No, it was performance enhancement, injury prevention, rehabilitation. Hanya Holm is a great example. She apparently had a really bad leg injury in the 1930s, went to Joe for help.
And he fixed her up.
So the story goes, her recovery was apparently so remarkable that she started incorporating a lot of his floor exercises directly into her own teaching method, the home technique. So Contrology got baked into modern dance training pretty early on.
Wow. And it wasn't just dancers, was it? The appeal spread.
Oh, yeah. Hollywood, Broadway.
Yeah.
They caught on, too. Katharine Hepburn was famously a devotee. Sir Laurence Olivier, the playwright and actor, he described going there as getting a very special, very vigorous treatment.
Vigorous seems to be a key word here.
Definitely. And maybe the most vivid story confirming that intensity, it comes from the opera singer Roberta Peters.
Ah, the diaphragm story. Is that one true?
She confirmed it herself, talked about the breathing control needed for opera, and yeah, she said Joe, who is, a pretty solid guy.
Building a boxer, right?
Yeah, exactly. He would literally stand on her diaphragm while she was lying down to test her core strength and breath control.
Get out. Seriously.
Seriously. She claimed her diaphragm was like a rock, so his 175 pounds didn't bother her. But can you imagine? It just shows you how hands-on and intense the training could be.
No kidding. So with all this intense training, but also fixing injuries, I can see why it got that nickname.
Right, the sanitarium of 8th Avenue, because dancers and performers would supposedly limp in and dance out. It had this reputation as almost like physical therapy.
But without the official medical stamp of approval, which, as we'll see, Joe really, really wanted.
Yeah, despite all this success, especially with the artistic elite, Joe was known for being, well, outspoken isn't quite strong enough, brusque, maybe, and incredibly protective of Contrology. Which is funny because he never actually trademarked the name.
He just saw it as his, didn't he? His life's work.
Totally. And that fierce protectiveness, that led directly to probably the most infamous story about him, the whole conflict with Bob Seed.
The rival studio owner. What happened there exactly?
Okay, so Bob Seed had been a student. But in the late 1950s, he apparently decided to, cash in. He opens his own competing studio across town. And the word is, he was specifically targeting Joe's wealthy morning clients, trying to poach them.
Oh, that's bold. Joe wouldn't have liked that.
Liked it. He supposedly went ballistic. The story, and it's been told many times, is that Joe, who's in his 80s by this point.
In his 80s.
Yeah. Marches across Manhattan, storms into Seed's new studio, allegedly carrying a handgun.
Wait, a handgun? Are you serious? An 80-year-old fitness guru packing heat.
That's the legend. Walks in, confronts Seed, and basically tells him, in no uncertain terms, to get out of town.
Wow. That really clashes with the whole mind-body balance image, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Was that kind of volatility? I mean, was it just Joe being Joe? Or was the fitness scene back then more rough and tumble?
Look, it was definitely extreme. Even for the time, perhaps. But it just shows you how deeply he felt that Contrology was his creation, his intellectual property. He saw Seed as literally stealing something world-changing.
And did Seed?
Seed, probably very wisely, shut down his studio pretty quickly after that confrontation, so the threat worked. But, yeah, it's a stark illustration. The man teaching control could apparently lose his own when he felt his life's work was threatened.
He had that same kind of intensity, that fervor, when he tried to get the establishment on board, too.
Right.
But with less success.
Way less success. He was kind of obsessed with getting mainstream validation, especially from political and medical figures. He really wanted them to see the bigger picture.
Like writing to President Hoover.
Yeah, in 1958. Sends materials to former President Herbert Hoover, claiming Contrology could, and this is a direct quote, do more for world peace than anything else.
World peace. Through exercise. That's a big claim.
Huge. He genuinely seemed to believe that physical fitness was directly linked to global stability, like Healthy bodies lead to healthy minds, which leads to better governance, less conflict. You can sort of follow the logic, but it's a massive leap.
How did Hoover's office react?
Well, Hoover's aide looked it over and basically told Hoover not to bother meeting with him, dismissed the whole thing as sketchy. They just didn't see it as a serious proposal for national fitness, let alone world peace.
Ouch.
Sketchy. Yeah. But he didn't give up. Early 1960s, he tries again, this time with President Kennedy. JFK's administration was pushing physical fitness, so maybe Joe thought he had an opening.
Makes sense.
He writes to JFK, urging him to investigate Contrology, calling it the thing that would save America from physical decline. He even explicitly compared the nation's fitness levels to the decline of the Roman Empire.
Wow, pulling out the big historical parallels. So, same result.
Pretty much. Admire the conviction, you have to, but the establishment just wasn't buying his grand vision. His claims probably sounded pretty radical, maybe even a bit crackpot back then.
Okay, before we dive into the method itself, one quick clarification. The studio fire in 1966. That didn't kill him, right? That myth persists.
Right, good point. There was a bad fire at the studio building in '66. And the story goes, Joe went back the next day, maybe to salvage things, and actually fell through some burnt floorboards, got a nasty cut. But he did not die because of the fire. He lived for almost 2 more years, passing away in October 1967 from advanced emphysema. Okay, so Contrology. This system he guarded so fiercely. What was it at its core? Joe's own definition was the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. Simple, but profound.
And he made that famous promise, didn't the one about results?
Oh, yeah, the classic guarantee. In 10 sessions, you'll feel the difference. In 20, you'll see the difference. And in 30, you'll have a new body. Talk about confidence. He demanded consistency and repetition.
The real blueprint for the method, though, that's in his book from 1945, Return to Life Through Contrology.
That's the one. It lays out the 34 original mat exercises. And crucially, they're meant to be done in a specific order, a continuous flow. That sequence is key. It's designed to warm everything up systematically, then really challenge the core, the powerhouse, as he called it.
Can you give us a sense of that flow, like specific moves?
Sure. It typically starts with something to get the circulation going, like the 100, that vigorous breathing exercise while pulsing the arms. Then it moves into deeper core work and spinal articulation, things like the roll-up or the neck pull, which is pretty advanced abdominal work.
Right.
And it builds up to these signature moves that demand incredible strength, balance, and control. The teaser is probably the most famous, that V-sit position. Looks elegant, but it requires tremendous core power.
Okay, so there's this very structured, specific mat sequence. But then you hear from people who actually studied with him, and they say his studio sessions weren't always just rigidly following that sequence.
Exactly. And that's the fascinating paradox. You have the book with its fixed order, but testimony from the first-generation teachers, people like Jay Grimes, who trained directly with Joe, they paint a different picture of the day-to-day reality in the studio.
How so?
Well, Jay Grimes, for instance, confirms that, yes, Joe would start pretty much everyone on a fixed set of foundational exercises, build that base level of coordination, strength, understanding the principles.
Makes sense. You need the fundamentals.
Right. But once you'd mastered that initial foundation, the program wasn't static. It immediately became highly individualized. It expanded.
And that's where all the famous equipment comes in. The Reformer, the Cadillac.
Precisely. The Reformer, the Cadillac or trap table, the Wunda chair, the barrels. He used all that apparatus with its springs and straps and pulleys to tailor the workout. He'd target your specific weaknesses, challenge you in different ways, push you further.
So it wasn't just about learning the exercises. It was about him teaching the person in front of him.
Absolutely. His goal seemed to be client independence. He wanted you to understand your own body, how it worked, how to control it. The apparatus was a tool to help you achieve that deeper understanding and control, not just a machine to work out on. And that legacy, that understanding, it started spreading pretty quickly, even during Joe's lifetime, through those dedicated students and even family.
Family.
Yeah, Joe's own brother, Fred Pilates, actually opened a studio way out in St. Louis by 1931. So he was arguably the first person to take the Pilates name and method outside of New York.
Wow, 1931, that's early.
Really early. And then you see it moving south, too. Dorothy Alexander, who was connected with the Atlanta Ballet, She seems to have opened the first studio run by a woman, outside the immediate family anyway, down in Atlanta, probably in the early 1940s.
And she was serious about it, too.
Oh, yeah. The commitment was real. She apparently used to bring her ballet dancers all the way up to New York regularly for intensive training sessions directly with Joe and Clara.
That's dedication. Okay, let's talk equipment for a sec, because the Reformer we see today isn't exactly what Joe built, is it?
No, there have been some key evolutions. Joe patented his first Reformer design around 1925, but by modern standards, it was pretty, well, basic in some ways. A key difference was the straps.
The straps.
Yeah, the original Reformers used fixed-length leather straps, like actual leather straps he sourced from harness makers and saddlers. That was the available tech.
Fixed length, so like one size fits all. That sounds limiting.
It really was. Imagine if you were much taller or shorter than average, or if you wanted to do an exercise that required a different strap length, you'd basically have to stop, get off the machine, and physically adjust these heavy leather things. It wasn't quick, and it wasn't truly universal.
Okay, so how did that change? Who figured out a better way?
That key innovation came after Joe's time, driven by one of the important Pilates elders, Kathy Grant.
Oh, okay. What did she do?
She recognized that mechanical limitation. Working on the Reformer she had at her studio, which was actually inside the Henri Bendel department store back then.
Cool location.
Yeah, very chic. Anyway, she experimented and replaced those fixed leather straps with adjustable ropes.
Ropes, like with cleats or something to adjust them.
Exactly. Simple, elegant, brilliant. Suddenly, you could adjust the length quickly and easily for any body size, any exercise. It made the Reformer much more versatile and accessible.
And that stuck.
Completely. That modification, switching from fixed leather to adjustable ropes, was eventually adopted by pretty much all the major equipment manufacturers. So when you use a modern Reformer today, you're benefiting directly from Kathy Grant's innovation, building on Joe's original design.
Yeah.
It's a great example of how the disciples adapted and evolved the method.
So when you pull it all together, the life of Joseph Pilates. It's incredible, isn't it? This pugnacious, visionary guy. His life spans 2 world wars. He goes from circus acrobat to fitness guru for the absolute elite of the dance world.
Yeah, his legacy is really defined by that unwavering conviction he had, isn't it? It survived all those colorful conflicts, partly because of his own stubbornness, but also because of the dedication of his students, people like Kathy Grant, who adapted and kept it alive.
He really did seem to believe he was ahead of his time. You mentioned he joked about being 50 years ahead.
He did, and we saw how his ideas, especially his pitches to Hoover and JFK, sounded sketchy or just way out there to the establishment back then.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. Look around today at what's happening on the fringes of fitness, wellness, maybe even biohacking. Think about those trends or methods that seem a bit eccentric, maybe even sketchy right now.
Yeah, could any of those seemingly strange ideas actually be rooted in something genuinely brilliant? Something that decades from now might become the accepted standard? Just like Contrology went from a niche practice in a New York studio to a global phenomenon.
Something to think about. What's the Contrology of tomorrow?
Food for thought indeed. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.